For many in the gaming industry, it's not much of a secret that there's been new developers, studios and executives that have joined, not for the sake of creating something that's going to be a smash hit for its fan base, but to make sure they twist something to be better suited to their ideologies, being more happy to drive something into the ground for the sake of leaving their legacy behind. And I don't think any group exemplifies this more than 343 Industries, or Halo Studios as they're now called. Why did 343 Industries decide to add changes to their products? Because they knew fans enjoyed the look, feel and storytelling of the older products, and so tried to change the identity of the franchise to make people remember their influence more than the original creators. Spite, essentially. If you ever needed the clearest example of this, then there's no greater candidate than the Halo TV show. This is a show completely disconnected from anything to do with the Bungie stuff. It's in its own universe, meaning only the story beats, world building and characters in it are all things that have come from and been approved by 343 Industries. No influence from Bungie at all. And it's fucking terrible. I'm going to mostly just try and talk about the show, which is set in the Silver timeline, but if I want to make comparisons to the games and other pieces of the expanded universe, I will call that the Gold timeline. I already tried to tackle this show ages ago, but I got so fed up and annoyed that I just stopped bothering, so here comes round 2. The show opens up with a pan across the dusty plains of the planet Madrigal into a water treatment facility, showing us there's large amounts of flat, coverless land.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
During this pan, it shows us in the bottom left hand corner that the year is 2552 and Madrigal is set in the outer colonies. We go inside the water facility to see a group of individuals playing cards and listening to a broadcast about the attempted peace negotiations between the Insurrectionists on the planet and the UNSC. Somehow, despite inferior technology, weaponry and being in UNSC controlled space, this planet isn't UNSC aligned. In the Gold timeline, it's established that the Insurrectionists are just in small groups, held up in small outposts that are a struggle for the UNSC to claim, but here they somehow own a planet and the UNSC hasn't taken them out.
By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
We then just get a shitload of exposition just dumped on us for about a solid minute, explaining the UNSC and the Spartans in the most clunkiest way possible.
No smarter, we cannot be stopped. We just keep on killing. Without mercy, there was nothing left to kill.
You're gonna notice that the writing team in this series thinks you're dumb, and goes out of its way to explain things to you through really blunt expository dialogue.
Have you seen a Spartan? Up close.
I face Marines.
Why would you answer a question with an answer that obviously has nothing to do with the question? The leader of the base, who I will call Dad, arrives and asks where his daughter is, and we are then introduced to Quan and her friends.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
I really don't want to sound mean, but these seem like the type of haircut someone would get from a lobotomized caveman. Which costume designer approved this? Now, this group has walked from the base all the way up to this big hill, and only now does one of the group decide to say this.
If the general finds out we left the outpost...
Do you not think this is something that should have been discussed when you're still in the compound, not after? Oh, right, sorry. Expository dialogue. They had to say this to tell us she's his daughter. There's no possible scenes that could have been used afterwards to tell us this information, could there? Also, we're supposed to believe she's called Quan, but considering her close friend calls her...
It's better be worth it, Quan. Be worth it, Quan.
Be worth it, Quan.
I'm gonna call her Corn instead, because it's funnier. Corn and her friends are out trying to get drugs, and we then get hit with another exposition dump.
Madrigal, the galaxy's highest concentration of heavy hydrogen. Power your ships and power your drugs.
Well, thank you for explaining things to me I already know, because I too have lived on this desert rock for my whole life. The group then talk about how Korn wants to leave the planet and expository dialogue. They all take the drugs Korn just found, except for Korn herself, who spots a ship going through the trees. She then stumbles upon a Covenant ship, with their forces doing something in a nearby cave. She comes back to her friends and tries to tell them they're in danger. Two of her friends are then promptly blown apart by plasma weapons. My first main praise for the show is the deadliness of the plasma weaponry. Due to graphical limitations, plasma weapons in the games have never been able to blow off limbs or shred through cover, but it was always described as very deadly, with a less powerful weapon in the game, such as the plasma pistol, being used to melt through someone's chest in a single uncharged plasma shot. So seeing a person's head get blown off in a single shot is immensely satisfying. Their competence is kinda undercut when they manage to kill the two friends standing next to her, but not the kid on the hill right in front of them, but whatever. The kids then proceed to run away, with everyone but Quan being picked off. She stops behind a hill and lets off a flare, signalling to the outpost an attack is imminent, and the settlement begins to ready itself. Quan then continues her journey, jumps down the hill, and runs all the way back home. And how is this possible? During the initial chase, when there's plenty of hills and trees in the way, the elites manage to slowly pick them off one by one and keep up with them. Quan then stops, hides behind a small hill, stays there for about 10 seconds, starts running again, jumps down a massive hill and then manages to run across this vast, coverless flat plain without being shot by any of the elites that surely would have caught up with her. Are you telling me she somehow managed to evade these several dozen 10-foot tall hulking masses of muscle who are solely dedicated to killing her when she has no cover?
Bullshit!
Anyways, Quan runs to her father and tells her this is not the UNSC. This is something different. Now, despite the fact that these people have binoculars, there are giant blue bolts smashing into the side of their base, and the fact there would be 10-foot tall giant hulking behemoths in blue armor running across the flat, coverless plains, no one on the battlements elects to inform the rest of the group these are aliens, not the UNSC. They just leave everyone in suspense because it's funny for them. I don't know why they do this. So Quan and the rest of the civilians take cover in one room with no defences, while the rest of the insurrectionists stand guard over the door, and then the gates get blasted open and the elites start to pour in. I do quite like the design and aesthetics of the elites. They are tall and bulky but still swift and nimble, and their armour has a sort of ceremonial feel to them that matches the Sangheili culture. My only gripe is, why does this dude not have any arm armour? It annoyed the fuck out of me when 343 did it in the games, but even then the excuse was their covenant was a less resourceful covenant that had to scavenge for parts to use. Did this guy just have a catastrophic brain injury, leaving him unable to put his sleeves on? The battle then kicks off, and I will admit, this really helps to capture the feelings of humanity being outdone by a dominant force, just watching all of these people get decimated by the elites. Anyways, the elite commander wrecks this girl and then runs full speed into the truck carrying Quan's dad. Now, my problem isn't that the 10-foot tall piece of absolute muscle wrapped in advanced high-tech armour can't run into a truck and wreck its shit. I'm fine with that. My problem is that it runs into the truck, and instead of flipping to the right, or swinging around 180 degrees, it decides to defy the laws of physics and flip to the left. Quan, despite seeing everyone get their shit pushed in, decides that somehow she might be able to help in the conflict and save her father. Yeah, she doesn't really elaborate on it and she just kinda pieces out, but not before telling this kid he's definitely gonna live, don't worry about it. Anyways, on the roof we see this one rebel girl we've been seeing a few times holding out against the elites, and just look at this gun she's using. Doesn't that shit look cool? Why couldn't we have seen more cool and unique looking guns instead of just AKs? Having stuff like this would have helped with the rugged aesthetic they were going for while also making it less generic. I will say, as much as I love the plasma weaponry doing all of this stuff to people, it does make me question the consistency of the guns. Sometimes they'll just blow limbs off and then they can completely atomize people and blow apart concrete. Would have been nice to see some other weapons in the conflict to explain the difference, like the Fjorod cannon for instance. Now, the little cook boy we saw before keeps seeing his friends get atomized, and he decides to run for the vault full of innocent people before getting skewered. This causes the elite to then investigate the vault, and he absolutely fucking slaughters them.
What would you do if there was a child right in front of you?
The thing goes
Quan runs into old dude and they talk about how they have no idea what's going on, but then the old man says,
I thought it was UNSC propaganda!
Now, humanity is 3 decades into a galactic war. Many of your fellow insurrectionists have probably had their planets glassed and had to fight the Covenant. There's no way only the UNSC have encountered and spread word of the Covenant, but no, I guess half the galaxy being on fire isn't being talked about on the galactic news. We then cut back to Dad and we see he could have just twisted his foot out at any time to get out from under the truck. Like, there's a truck on your foot, you aren't getting out of that that, unless the foot wasn't actually stuck, in which case I don't know why he just stayed face planted in the floor for the past 5 minutes. As he opens fire on the elite, a dropship is heard and Master Chief enters the fight. Now, Rebel Dude slowly whispers,
Spartans.
and then starts screaming it when he attacks Chief. This is good and bad expository dialogue. When he's shooting Chief, he's angry. This is the man who killed his wife. Good job for screaming it in defiance for what you think is your imminent death. But why did you need the other?
Spartans.
You're not talking to anyone, you literally just speak it at nothing, and it comes across as clunky. Also, I know he killed your wife, but you do realise that this alien just helped to kill everyone in this area, including, from your perspective, your daughter. Why would you stop shooting the alien that just killed your daughter and choose to focus on the man who killed your wife ages ago? In this scene, you're also going to notice a problem with the Spartan suits, and that is, despite the fact that we've seen it in cosplays and other media, the armour made for the show is not flexible. This is why this obvious and bad CGI shot is needed, as quickly getting up from a kneeling position and reaching over his shoulder for his rifle is apparently more than what the costume can handle, so they use CGI to get him started and then cut to a different camera angle while he's running. You'll see a few times in the show that any action that requires flexibility needs to be CGI, because despite having a $200 million budget, their costume design is somehow worse than the costumes made at home. Also, I get the Spartans are a bigger threat. The Covenant have been fighting him for so long they've given Master Chief the Demon nickname, but why didn't this elite just put a shot in the dad? You were about to kill him anyways, just cap him quickly and move on. Chief kills the elite, with him and dad nodding at each other, showing an alliance between the two forces. Now, Chief has been on the ground for about 30 seconds at this point, and only now does the other Spartans join in. Not only that, but two of them drop at one point and the other drops by themselves at pretty much the exact same time, which if they all jumped at roughly the same time they should all be next to each other, so why is Kai all the way over here?
What the fuck?
So Chief and Silver Team go out of their way to fight the elites, and we then get a decent up close fight scene with Chief. Quan and Old Dude see the Spartans helping, and the Old Dude screams,
So let's fight!
Everyone in your settlement is nearly dead at this point. Who are you trying to rally with? The Spartans have done more in 60 seconds than you've done this entire fight. What do you think you're going to do with your Modern Warfare 2 thumper?
Suicide is badass!
We see a member of Silver Team, Vanek, firing a DMR at some elites and gaining their attention. He then proceeds to holster his weapon and pick up a pipe. And instead of taking advantage of the fact that their enemy has no long-range rifle now, an elite carrying a plasma rifle decides to just walk up right next to him. There's a good fight scene here in theory, but the execution and build up to it is fucking bizarre. Why not just have both the elites charge him with energy swords? He makes a quick decision and uses the pipe to fight. He then joins Dad, whose AK is ejecting shells, but the slide isn't moving. We then see another Spartan, Riz, who runs towards two elites, and the elites just walk towards her and stare at her before she engages them in hand-to-hand combat. Now, this choreography is decent, except for the styrofoam plasma pistol. This show has $10 million per episode. We then move on to Quan running around being useless before an elite appears before her and roars at the sky, not shooting her. As you can tell, certain things just happen because the story needs it, not because it makes sense. So Quan runs away and decides to hide in some trailer thing, and instead of hiding away and keeping quiet, she decides to loudly pant next to the windowed door in full view of anyone who passes, including the elite that was chasing her. No surprise, the elite finds her and rips the door off. But instead of crouching down a little more so he can reach into the trailer, he decides to just stay fully standing and awkwardly bounces his head off the trailer until it gets blown off by Kai.
You idiot. You're honestly an idiot.
Quan then finds the body of Old Dude and decides to hide under a car for safety. We then get a scene of the wall Kai is standing on getting blown up and she falls down, pinned by three elites. Now, as we just saw, the sniper can kill a fully shielded elite in one shot to the head. So naturally, Kai makes the smart decision to throw her sniper on the floor, whip out her pistol, and then complain to Chief that she's pinned. Even if there's too much fire for you to get a headshot on these elites, surely one body shot would drain their shields and you can then just pick them off with your pistol.
Women.
Anyways, after she tells Chief she's pinned, we get a bad CGI shot of Chief jumping on top of a building. Chief then hides behind one of the turned over trucks and notices the minigun. He then proceeds to throw down his assault rifle, and before he picks up the minigun, we then get an unnecessary shot of a badly made CGI assault rifle just sliding across the floor, and it just looks terrible.
Hold your position.
Brother,
We really didn't need this scene, and even if you wanted to show us it, why not just use the actual prop gun instead of the CGI that just glides across the floor? Also, why are you throwing your gun away? You have ammo, just reload it later. Chief then uses the minigun to mow these elites down, and while it is awesome, I can't help but point out some noticeable flaws with the action so far. The human guns can't decide if they want to work or not. In this one scene, one minigun mows down 3 elites, yet when the elites first arrived, 2 miniguns on the back of the trucks couldn't do anything to damage them from coming through the door. Also, none of the 50 plus rebel guns being fired managed to kill any of the elites, yet a burst from Master Chief's assault rifle manages to fully drain the shield and kill them. I understand that there's different calibers and types of ammo, but showing the rebels kill 4 or 5 elites would have helped make these scene make more sense. We then get an overhead shot of the settlement, and apart from Dad, we don't see anyone else. None of Silver Team and not the wounded elite slowly staggering around the settlement we'll see in a moment. As Dad notices that Quan is okay, we then hear the commander elite slowly walking away. Now, in case you forgot, this is the same elite that was just hit by a minigun and landed right next to Chief and Kai, meaning they saw this elite get up, slowly walk to the other side of the settlement, and did nothing. Dad sees the elite and seems to think it's going after Quan, but the camera angle makes it seem dazed and weakened and just trying to get away. We also get a point of view shot from Quan's perspective. It doesn't seem to even be looking at her. He stood in the open and it just completely ignores him, so why would it waste time on her, especially when she's just hiding under a car? Anyways, Dad thinks it's going after her, so decides the logical thing to do would be lose the tactical advantage of using a gun and walk towards him firing at him. This puts him in grabbing distance, and yeah, Dad gets kebabbed and Quan cries.
Oh no! Anyway,
we then see Chief just casually walking around, despite just hearing a large amount of gunshots being fired. Also, where's the rest of Silver Team? We didn't see anyone in the overhead shots, and we don't hear any other combat noises besides the Dad fighting. So what are these guys doing between Chief saving Kai and the team regrouping at the end? Chief sees the elite moving towards Quan, who makes no attempts to move away from the elite slowly walking towards her, and manages to save her. He then phones command, finding Quan alive and stating she is the only survivor, and he and the rest of Silver Team head towards the mining site that Quan saw at the start of the episode. Cut to the opening credits. The credits are okay, the visual effects are good and I like the idea, but most of the music is quite generic, and as we'll see later, it kinda ruins the mystique of the Spartans. But then again, that's what this whole show does, so never mind. After crying over her dad, Quan tries to find the Spartans, who have made their way to the excavation site. And despite having advanced hearing and vision, and despite Quan spotting this through a forest, Silver Team wait until they're basically right under the ship to say they've spotted it.
Chief? Covenant Phantom.
I don't know if the writing was deliberately made to be this terrible, or if the scene was just shot in a weird way, but this scene looks awkward as fuck. Chief decides that the two of them should clear the ship while the other two investigate the cave, and so he decides that the individual with the sniper rifle should come into the dark, cramped caves instead of going up on the ridge. Then, because Chief decided to not pick up his assault rifle for some reason, Vanek gives Chief his DMR, a DMR he wouldn't have ammunition for because he had ammo for his assault rifle and his pistol, so Vanek just gave him a rifle that only has 1 magazine in. If someone could tell me what sound military strategy this is, please feel free to leave that in the comments. Chief and Kai go into the caves and we get a cool little first person scene, as well as a little throwback reference that actually makes sense.
Cave network does not appear to be a natural formation.
An elite spots them from the darkness but holds off from killing them. Chief then holds on to the artifact in the room and the room lights up before cutting to the flashbacks of Chief's repressed memories. Chief lets go of the artifact and is then stunned. The elite watching them proceeds to sprint out of the cave, catching their attention and beginning a pursuit. The elite switches to invisibility, and as it exits the cave, Quan happens to be there, and he absolutely fucking bodies her here, and it's probably the funniest part of the episode. The Elite escapes in the Banshee, and Chief tells the rest of Silver Team to take the Phantom and return to Reach, while he'll take the artifact and the girl in the Condor and return by himself. And then Kai says,
That's not procedure.
which really confused me because in this show, Spartans are supposed to be emotionless robots that just obey commands. So if these Spartans are designed to be subservient to the chain of command, why is she questioning his orders? He's her superior officer. She should just be getting on with it.
That's not procedure.
You need to shut the fuck up!
Anyways, both groups go their separate ways and the scene ends. Halsey is looking at the recording Chief created of the artifact when the head of ONI, Parangoski, enters the lab to talk to her about the incident on Madrigal. They have this little exchange.
150 dead civilians in Madrigal is not a good look for your Spartans, Catherine. One survivor's not going to make my job any easier.
Okay, so first off, this is a planet the UNSC isn't really supposed to have any jurisdiction over. The Insurrectionists are allowed to be out in the open for everyone to see, so presumably they run it, and only recently have peace talks begun to open. The Covenant attacking them both isn't your fault, nor was it technically your problem, yet you still decided to fight the Covenant off and try and protect the civilians. Even if your reasons for sending the Spartans was for your own benefit, or because you were looking at a threat to yourselves, surely the Spartans being there and giving support would help to sell the image of peace between the UNSC and the Insurrectionists. So yeah, it's not a good look for them, but it's not exactly a bad look for them either. Halsey then rightfully points out,
the Covenant wiped out an entire rebel garrison before Silver Team could intervene. We saved one.
To which Parangoski replies,
one survivor's not going to make my job any easier.
Okay, but surely it's not going to make it any harder either. They saved a life and stopped the Covenant forces from getting their hands on the artifact. I don't get why she's so quick to make this Halsey's fault when her Spartans literally did the best they could in the situation. Remember, it was the dad's decision to run at the energy sword wielding elite like a moron, not theirs. All of these Spartans are recording the battle, why not just watch the footage? Parangoski then says,
the security committee is looking for an excuse to cut your funding.
Halsey has given you soldiers and equipment that can make 4 Spartans effortlessly do what 150 rebels couldn't, and you're in the middle of a galactic war fighting for survival. Why would cutting her funding even be an option at this point? Why does she even need to worry about funding?
Shut the fuck up, I will fucking laser you with alien fucking eyes and explode your fucking head.
The two of them talk about the artifact, and then Parangoski says,
Miranda knows Madrigal. I've asked her to do the reach out. Is that going to be an issue?
While I understand this is Halsey's daughter, I don't understand why Parangoski would care if Halsey had an issue or not. Not only do the two not like each other, Halsey seemingly doesn't care about anything in the realms of politics if it doesn't involve science, and she's not even present during the talk. So I'm not sure why they bring this up. Could they have cut this dialogue and just done the scene and nothing relevant would have been lost? I was gonna say they need this dialogue to foreshadow that she's Halsey's daughter, but I mean there's so many other scenes and references in the other episodes to do this a lot more subtly, so I don't know why the scene was needed at all. Also, this is who's supposed to be in charge of ONI.
John found it. It belongs here.
You see how just fed up she looks? See how easily she just gives up and lets Halsey get away with the situation? You would not think this is someone who's in charge of top secret projects like assassinations and child kidnappings, would you?
You don't want to be like this.
She starts to leave, only to hear a noise from the other room, discovering that Halsey is still working on a project that she said no to. And again, instead of just having her under constant watch and destroying the project herself, she just tells Halsey to stop it, as if she'll listen to her a second time.
I've given you a long lead, Doctor. Don't hang me with it.
Maybe you should just give the lead to someone who doesn't have obvious disrespect for you.
You fucking donkey!
Parangoski leaves, and as Halsey goes into the other room, we see a clone of herself in a pod. We then cut to High Charity, and yeah, this thing looks cool. And I think the CGI for Mercy looks good as well. I am a bit annoyed that they did the Halo Wars thing and just had the elites in minor armor be honor guards. Would have loved to see the ceremonial armor in live action, but hey, I guess they just didn't have the budget and it definitely won't appear at all in season 1. Mercy comes into the room and talks to the Blessed One, who is a human female, and not only do they discuss that she can activate foreign artifacts, which is fine, but apparently they seem to rely on her to find artifacts in the first place. We do see later on that they have equipment to help detect Forerunner stuff, but based on this dialogue here, she has a far better record of finding stuff than they do. Also, this storyline fucking baffles me. In the Gold timeline, the three prophets lead a campaign against humanity because humanity being inheritors of the Forerunner technology completely contradicts what their covenant teaches them. And as such, if it was ever discovered that humanity were the worthy successors and they weren't, it would destroy the covenant from within and their species would lose their power. So why is the covenant just accepting of her? Why are they even fighting humanity in the first place if they acknowledge that they don't have access to the artifacts but humans do? Surely these would be like demigods to them? I was gonna say that maybe they've started this war because they're worried that humanity would take over their empire, but as we see, only certain humans can activate these artifacts. So that's not really an excuse either. In short, I have no idea why the Covenant hate humanity and want to kill them. Genuinely no clue.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but I know I'm doing it really, really well.
Anyways, the Blessed One wants to talk with the elite that escaped from Madrigal, and begins to walk out until Mercy tells her to leave her book behind, because, I mean, I don't know why. He trusts her enough to have autonomy, and none of the other Covenant care about her walking around, so I doubt anyone would have a problem with her having a human book. We move on to the Condor that Chief is in, and it's established that whenever there's a shot in space, the sound dims and gets muffled and all of the colour drains from the screen, which is an artistic choice I like. It adds a sense of how draining and lifeless space can be. Quan wakes up and is greeted by Miranda Keys. Now let me just say, throughout this whole scene, Miranda just looks and sounds nervous, like a little kid standing in front of an assembly hall trying to make a speech. If this is intentional and designed to highlight her youth and inexperience, then surely Parangosky would be aware of such issues and would have chosen a more confident negotiator for the job. If it wasn't part of the character, then I question why the directing of the scene is so awful. Also, another little thing I found weird is this scene.
Miranda Keys knows Madrigal. I've asked her to do the reach out.
I'm sorry, but Miranda looks to be in her late 20s at the latest. How is it that she, of all people in the UNSC, would have the best connection with the outer colonies? It's almost like this makes no sense whatsoever and is just used to introduce her to the audience.
I think that it would go a long way to putting aside whatever these politicians are bickering about and helping us focus on the real war.
Fuck out of here, boy. Get that weak shit out of here.
Miranda tells Quan she's sorry about what happened to her, how the Covenant has and will continue to destroy worlds, and that humanity needs to unite to fight against them. She asks Quan for a very reasonable and understandable request, to tell the other insurrectionists what happened on Madrigal, and that the UNSC are open to offers of peace. Quan states she won't do this because her father spent his whole life fighting against the UNSC, despite the fact he sent a diplomat to help start peace relations, and that instead she will do the opposite. Quan states she will send a message saying it was the UNSC and the Spartans that killed everyone and then kidnapped her, with Miranda noting the entire event was recorded, to which Quan replies that through the power of editing, the UNSC could make any sort of propaganda video they want, and that when she tells people her version they will believe her and will forego any offers of peace because of it. Now, ignoring the fact that this threat is meaningless because Quan doesn't have any way of making and sending a message herself, couldn't the UNSC just send a message to the other insurrectionists telling them this settlement was attacked, go and look at the plasma damage and the dead alien bodies, and then explain they need to unite to stop a common threat? Again, they're decades into a galactic war. How hasn't anyone sent footage to the insurrectionists to try and warn them? This political peace talk story shouldn't be a thing. They should either be helping or hiding, not trying to fight the UNSC.
This is bullshit.
Now, despite everything I just mentioned, Miranda actually seems to be intimidated by her threat and asks what Quan wants in return for compliance. What? You hold all the cards. Why are you even entertaining this idea? Quan says she wants full independence from Madrigal because that's what her dad wanted. That's what your dad wanted when he didn't know there was a group of aliens that wanted to murder every man, woman and child humanity has. You don't know what he might have wanted after the encounter with the Covenant. He sent a peace envoy to deal with the UNSC. Maybe he would have accepted peace for the good of humanity. Also, 20 elites slaughtered your entire base. Imagine what a whole fleet of Covenant accident would do to your planet. The meeting ends and we go into Halsey's lab, and we see her and her assistant looking over Chief's bio readings for when he touched the artifact. Halsey talks to Chief, and he tells her about the memories he saw. Halsey tells Chief to stay away from the object, and then tells her assistant she wants updates on what he does from now on. Now, presumably they would have gone over the footage of Chief from the moment he touched the artifact up to their current point, and at no point does anyone become alarmed that, for the past several hours, he has just been sat in one spot looking at the object. You would think this would be a cause of concern, but this just doesn't get brought up. As Quan bangs on the door, Chief walks in. He moves to the other side of the room and begins to use a medical machine there in order to check if he's experiencing any illness or physical trauma. Why you would decide to keep this machine in your prisoner holding cell is beyond my understanding. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea to announce to people you're holding captive that you feel vulnerable, but whatever. Quan, a prisoner, keeps asking questions, and instead of not engaging with the prisoner, Chief keeps giving her answers.
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person?
We then cut to the two Keysers, Miranda and Jacob. They talk about how Miranda had to be a politician, and Miranda says, genuinely, I cannot believe this.
I sucked up my pride and I gave it my best.
The two then have more expository dialogue, which is just basically used to confirm the fact that Miranda is Halsey's daughter, which again raises the question of this scene. Can I ask a question? Well, fuck you, I'm gonna do it anyways. Why is Miranda a science officer? In the Gold timeline, they have the same relationship dynamic that's present in the show, with Halsey being too focused on scientific pursuits to care about family life, and Miranda being too disgusted by her mother and preferring the company of her father. But then, logically, she chooses a career in the Navy and wants to be a ship commander and make her dad proud. But in this timeline, she chooses to be a science officer. Shouldn't this be like the one position she would never ever take because of what science and her mother represent to her? Again, this show just keeps changing certain aspects of the universe without changing the context of other pieces that hold those aspects up.
Look, here's the thing. Fine.
Listen,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
They shift their conversation, and because of how terrible Miranda was at negotiating, Jacob informs her that Quan is going to be executed as a loose end. Jacob explains that this instruction came from up top, and Miranda insists that this is all about...
No, it's about keeping the deuterium flowing regardless of the cost.
Now, I'm not an expert, but I decided to Google what that was exactly. And let me tell you, if the UNSC are after Madrigal, a desert planet, because of deuterium, the UNSC are fucking stupid. Again, I'm not exactly the best at explaining this stuff, but basically, deuterium is created when you use strong electrical currents in water, and it's one of the cheapest and most easily created substances on Earth. Yet, somehow, the UNSC are desperate enough for this that they're willing to execute Quan because she might be a threat to their supply of it. If you're that desperate for her, just put some electric wires in a bathtub or something. They debate about her murder, with Jacob explaining that things in war aren't that simple and that sometimes hard choices need to be made for good reasons, while Miranda states that saving the human race isn't worth it if they're going to do so by becoming monsters, saying that Jacob is acting like Halsey. Now, I agree with Jacob in terms of philosophy, but for this issue I agree with Miranda. Ignoring the fact that doing this for deuterium is fucking stupid, maybe they could try and talk to her again, or maybe invite the other insurrectionists to the outpost to see for themselves. Not immediately kill everyone for no reason. We then cut back to Quan and Chief on the ship. Quan asks him if he ever takes his helmet off, and Chief explains that he needs it in order to monitor his suit systems and his health, which would explain why he definitely doesn't need to remove his helmet during the rest of the show. Quan then states they've met before, when Chief attacked a meeting between the other insurrectionists and killed them all, including her mother. They have an interesting debate, with Quan asking why he just blindly follows orders and kills people when he doesn't have the full picture or justification to do so, while Chief argues that he's just a soldier, and that if he questioned every single piece of information given to him, he would never be able to fulfill his duty as a soldier because he would always second guess himself. I actually like this small conversation, but once again, in this timeline, this shouldn't make any sense. Yes, in the Gold timeline, Chief and the other Spartan 2s were designed to eliminate insurrectionists, keeping the story aspect the same. The main difference, however, is that the insurrectionists were an actual menace menacing threat to the UNSC and their colonies, with many bands of insurrectionists essentially being space pirates, who robbed and murdered in the outer colonies. In this Silver timeline, it comes across more like individuals who want to renegotiate for better representation. As we saw in the beginning, the planet of Madrigal was trying to make peace with the UNSC, and the rebels seem to have weapons and machinery far outdated compared to the UNSC to pose such a visible threat. You could say, yeah, that's the point, they're basically just poor and the UNSC are a tyrannical government seeking to oppress them, in which case, why aren't they? Why are there insurrectionist planets when the UNSC far outclass them in every way possible? Yeah, they're at war with the Covenant, but the fact that it's been going on for nearly 3 decades and the insurrectionists don't know about it and the outer colonies are mostly intact means they can't actually be that much of a threat yet. Secondly, when did this happen? She's supposed to be in her teens and she remembers Chief being there, so she must have been 5 years old maybes. So why are the UNSC wasting Spartan resources on peaceful meetings when the Covenant is slaughtering them? Why are the insurrectionists and the UNSC not at peace, a decade into a galactic war against a human-hating species? Chief then gets an alert from command, telling him he must eliminate Quan. Instead, he goes back and starts to fiddle around with the monitor, and he disconnects the security system on the spaceship they can't escape from in front of the cameras monitoring him. Obviously, the UNSC see this, and Parangoski asks Halsey what is going wrong, with Halsey believing the artifact has triggered some memories which were locked away. Halsey tries to convince Parangoski that the Cortana system could be used to help keep the Spartans under control, but she is dismissed and told to get her Spartans under control. Again, Parangoski doesn't seem intimidating or fearsome, she just seems tired.
Now get your Spartan under control.
Ooh, you suck!
We then get back on the ship and the UNSC are dropping the oxygen levels to kill Quan, but for some reason, instead of cutting off oxygen completely, they just drop it, letting Quan walk around and tell Chief something is wrong, and then they drop it again. If you want to kill her, just drop it to 0 immediately. Even if it doesn't kill her straight away, maybe she would have passed out quicker and hit her head instead of falling into Chief's arms. Plus, the oxygen starvation would have made her brain dead. We'll get onto that later. We go back to the UNSC headquarters and we see Parangoski ask this dumbass question.
Can the girl survive this?
You are in charge of one of the most secretive and deadly organizations in the UNSC, yet you ask if it's possible for humans to survive oxygen deprivation. Even Halsey points out what a dumb question that is.
I thought you wanted her dead.
They then decide to lower Chief's oxygen until he passes out, and Chief passes out instantly as soon as the oxygen goes down. To everyone watching this, just hold your breath. No, seriously, just pause the video and hold your breath for like 30 seconds, I'll wait. Okay, you notice how you didn't instantly pass out the moment 0% oxygen was going into your body? Well, apparently in this universe, humans instantly pass out the moment oxygen levels reach 40%. Anyways, Chief wakes up and uses the convenient switch right next to him to turn the oxygen back on. Parangoski and Halsey argue about the Condor's weapon systems, with Halsey insisting Chief wouldn't attack them, while Parangoski rightfully argues that they don't know what Chief might do at this point. Jacob wants to put some pelicans to escort them into the base as the Condor is on autopilot, but Parangoski wants everyone on base to be ready for him. Why would you want to handle an issue like this so publicly? Jacob even states,
"Due respect, we are talking about our most important military asset."
I mean, he's a legend of the UNSC. Why would you want everyone to know about this? How can you be sure they would even be confident enough to try and arrest him?
What, are you retarded?
Question one more order, Doctor, and you can watch from your lab.
This woman has done nothing but disobey you and try and get in your way. Why don't you just lock her up now? We move on to the base getting ready for Chief's arrival, and we get some pretty decent set design and CGI shots. Now, Halsey, in a piece of dialogue which sounds like she's just reading it from a piece of cardboard in front of her, then says,
Silver Team, Master Chief has been compromised by the the object you located on Madrigal. Because of this, he's no longer able to comply with orders. You've been dispatched by Fleet Command to neutralize him. I'm superseding those orders.
Now, I thought the whole point of this plotline is that Spartans were designed to be soldiers that obeyed orders through losing their personalities or being brainwashed. Halsey is a scientist. Granted, a high-ranking and important scientist that created them, but still a scientist. And for some reason that is enough to get these Spartans to disobey orders from some of the highest-ranking UNSC personnel in the galaxy. Surely that would mean that these Spartans are broken as well. You see what happens when you just pointlessly complicate things? Halsey then says that if anyone tries to arrest Chief, to kill them.
Huh?
Parangoski just ordered an entire military base on standby just because Chief didn't execute Quan. So what the fuck do you think she's gonna do when your Spartans start executing military personnel under her orders? Why are you so dumb? Why are you guys obeying her? We go back to the Condor and we see that Quan is aiming a rifle at Chief. And I'm sorry, but how are you standing? You went for minutes without oxygen going to your brain. Surely you'd be brain damaged. But no, she's fine apparently. Also, how the fuck is she holding this battle rifle when it's about the same size as her entire body? Chief tries to explain that the UNSC was wanting to kill her, but Quan doesn't listen, believing that he tried to kill her. Now, this is a genetically enhanced super soldier wearing advanced, heavy armor that has had over a decade of combat experience. You're like a 5-foot twig of a girl that can barely hold a rifle. If he wanted you dead, he could have just snapped your neck at any point. Why would he waste time with the oxygen? And then, why would he just leave you to run around the Condor instead of throwing you back in the little prison area from before? I don't get what her thinking or what her plan is here. He obviously isn't trying to kill you, and you've seen his armor tank plasma rounds that completely destroyed your home, but you think a battle rifle is gonna do something.
Your test results came back positive. You're a stage 5 dumbass.
We then get the worst scene in the episode.
Son of a fuck!
Ignoring the fact that the scene should have been like this, there's a few things I want to point out here. This little unclasping feature on the helmet never comes up again in the series. All the Spartans can just take their helmets on and off, so I don't know why they added it here except for dramatic effect. Another thing to point out is just look at them. This is what Spartans look like in this continuity. Remember what these Spartans looked like in Forward Unto Dawn, with their scars and their weird eyes and their pale complexion? Well, here Spartans just look like a suburban dad that lives up the road who has barbecues and washes his car every Sunday. It removes the intimidation factor a lot. Finally, Chief decides the best thing to do when confronted with a girl who is obviously suffering from PTSD, has a hatred for the UNSC, has a hatred for him specifically for killing her mother, and believes that she is about to die anyways and has nothing else to lose, is to remove his helmet and make it easier for her to kill him. Yeah, this is not Master Chief, this is not Spartan 117, this is not John, this is Jimmy Rings, an original insert character wearing the skin of an icon.
You're a big fat phony!
Chief explains he doesn't know why, but he wants to save her, and they need to work fast in order to escape. Quan tries to give him the rifle, but he gives it back. Now, the fact that Chief did this should be a sign that, yes, actually, Parangoski has a point about Chief trying to hurt them when he gives a member of the enemy a weapon, and maybe Halsey should get in contact with the other Spartans and tell them not to follow her orders. But she doesn't, she just kind of stands there and does nothing. You would think a smart woman like her would understand what would happen if her Spartans cause any more damage to the situation. But the characters are only as smart as the writers, and at the moment the writers want drama. Jimmy yells at Quan for not being able to open a panel needed to disable the autopilot, and I'm like, why are you just sat there shouting at her? She obviously doesn't know what to look for, how to open the panel properly, so instead of just sitting there looking at her, maybe you should show her? Or just switch places? You already have your panel open and all she would need to do is rip the cable out.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
So because Jimmy is a terrible teacher, Quan decides the best way to fix things is to shoot the entire panel, full of wires and cables in the hopes of hitting the right one. Ignoring the fact she just rams the gun into her hip and then fires the gun, experiencing no recoil or kickback from the weapon, how convenient is it that none of the stuff that she just fucked up is needed to keep the ship intact? So they free the ship from the autopilot, but Jacob gets a cool EMP Mac gun to shoot the Condor down. And again, look at this. Chief hasn't killed anyone or destroyed anything, and Parangoski threatens to have him killed. and somehow Halsey thinks getting these Spartans to kill military personnel won't completely backfire. The Marines start to put blast charges on the Condor while the other Spartans aim their weapons at them, causing the Marines to stare at the Spartans. Bear in mind there's no repercussions in later episodes. Apparently these Marines were fine with these Spartans threatening to kill them. So while they stare down with each other outside, Jimmy touches the artifact, which drains power from the nearby structures and gives it to the ship. It also gives Jimmy some more memories. They then pilot the Condor and escape into the atmosphere, ending the episode. So yeah. Episode 1 wasn't exactly fantastic, but I'm sure the rest of the show will be great, right? Thanks for watching, lads and lasses. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing and checking out some of my other videos. Sharing always helps, and if you're feeling really generous, please consider my Patreon or YouTube membership. But most of all, I just hope you had a great day, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.